everybody for taking time from your lunch breaks to join us. This is our third and final Q&A before the entry deadline. So quick round of introductions firstly. My name is Benita Mystery and I am a consultant with the GC&DC.
Hi everybody, and I'm Alma. I'm also a consultant for GC&DC. We have Robin Kyte with us today.
Hello, I'm Robin.
Robin is a
council member.
Yeah, and council member. And also a judge, and he's also won in the competition. So he has a very broad history with GC&DC.
Okay, so I'm just sharing the poll results. Are you all able to see this? Or, yep. So we can see we have 45% established designer makers and quite a few students in the majority. So thank you very much for filling this in, but it gives us a good idea on who we're talking to today. So without further ado, lost my mouse. Okay, what we will cover today. We will run through firstly the competition format and essentials for entering. Again, this is repetitive, but because this year the format looks slightly different, we thought we would run through it for the benefit of anybody new who's joining us today. Then we will be chatting with Robin and who will be answering a few questions on judging and some behind the scenes. And then we will answer your questions your questions that you submitted with the webinar. And if you have any live questions, there is a button at the bottom or on the side of your screen that says Q&A. If you could post them in there, we will run through them in a 10-minute sprint at the end. Thank you very much. And
yeah, so the deadline for submission, just to say that again, we've extended it to Sunday, the 20th of February.
Oh.
We won't so we would fill the application the week prior to the deadline. If you have any questions around, you can send us emails and we will be at hand to answer any questions if you have any hiccups on your application form. So yeah, just bear that in mind.
I think you might have cut out slightly.
Oh no.
February 28th of February is the deadline. Please don't leave it till the last minute.
Yeah, great summary there, Benita.
And then just running through key dates, I'll put this on the end of the screen at the end again. But deadline, as Alma said, 28th of Feb. And just so you know what's happening in the quiet patch between us announcing the winners, we are having the online judging session 15th to the 30th of March, which will be done digitally. And then we'll have the post-in and drop-off week 5th to the 9th of April. This is only if we write to you individually following the online judging sessions to request you either post off or drop off your pieces. Again, we are monitoring the situation with lockdown, so we will keep everybody posted if the dates change. And then in-person judging, 14th to the 27th of April, and our award ceremony will be in mid-May.
Yeah, so just a quick run through of the judging process. We have covered this in our other Q&As as well, but due to social distancing and keeping everyone safe, it will be a digital judging with 2D, and then the 3D will have preliminary judging first online, and then in-person judging will take place from the 5th to the 9th of April. And we will contact you closer to that date individually if your entry is needed for the in-person judging. Also, all entries are judged anonymously, so especially on the 2D boards, don't put any design names or anything like that on your boards to keep it anonymous. Obviously, hallmarks are acceptable. And digital submissions only this year, so no dropping off anything in person at the centre. And yeah.
And then our handy checklists, I will post a link in the chat at the end, but these will sort of guide you through the digital aspect of uploading your photos. We have had quite a few questions on some of the wording in these, which we appreciate, so we will run through them in our Q&A, such as what does an upload mean or an image. Yes. And then
So now to Robin. As we said in our intro, he's a trustee, council member, and competition judge. So first, Robin, can you just give a big brief introduction to yourself, what you do, and your relationship to GC&DC?
Well, I started off formally being taught at Sir John Cass for 4 years, so that's where my direction came from, and then I worked in the trade since then. My wife is also a jeweller, so we set up our own business, so that's is still running. It's been running for 40 years, and during that time designed and made for trade people and for retail as well. During that time, because my wife was also working, I could do some other things outside of my usual routes. So I got invited to do some teaching, and that teaching went on for some 37 years. Didn't mean to be, but that's why it came out. So, but during that time, it's been great. The teaching's been right across different areas, from sitting guilds, day release, to BA, MA. I don't think there's a course that I haven't taught on in a different aspect. And I've been also internationally connected with World Skills. So I've done quite a bit of judging and assessment in the international field. And you might think, it's very different. They're very similar to what we have and what we think. It's exactly the same. And the integrity and the importance of certain things are recognised there as well. And that's really, really good to know. More recently, I started off as a jeweller, but more recently I'm known as a sort of small worker, concentrating mainly on scale models, particularly in silver. My first encounter with the goldsmiths competition, I didn't know anything about it when I was a youngster. I was in my second year at Sir John Cass, and it was a lecturer who said to me, "That piece, I think we ought to put that into the Goldsmiths Craft and Design Council." And I didn't know what he meant, so it was taken off my hands. But then I got this letter to say I had this award. So I turned up at the Goldsmiths Hall, and I was blown away by the hall, obviously, for the first time. And I was only then 19, so it was all a bit big for me. And I got a commendation, and the commendation was fantastic. It's for diamond mounting, and
Wow.
I found the award. There it is.
Wow.
That's the people that were on the council then. I didn't know them at all, but from then onwards, I was hooked. I knew that I could enter things into that competition without any real worry, and that's really, really quite important to know that whatever you do, and unless someone else sees it, no one can actually praise it or give you feedback. And of course, it boosted my ego no end, obviously. I eventually obviously got a Jacques Cartier award for the piece I made. So it took some time to climb up that slope, but I got there. So now I'm still working at the bench. I still do my own work. I'm also involved with the Goldsmith Centre. I was one of the directors who helped set up the centre and wrote the foundation programme and set the workshops up initially in 2012.
Oh,
Robin, I think we've lost you.
your audio is cutting out.
Sorry.
Sounds like you're under the sea. Oh, reset. Oh.
No.
I think we always have like mic problems. Mic check.
Yeah.
It seems to be going fine.
Yeah. Was it an external thing that maybe you've
Plugged in?
No.
Oh, hey, you're back.
No.
Do you think it's worth signing back in, Robin? Alma and I can run through a few questions while we wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry about that, everybody. Technical stuff.
I'm just going to answer 3 of the questions on the Q&A whilst we wait.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So first one, hi, are we able to use royalty-free images in our submissions? Thank you. So I would say, yeah, as long as, like, make sure you do have permission. If they're royalty-free, then of course, I think you sign the license thing when you attain them. So do make sure that if you need to give credit for any images, you do, because we do then publish our winning pieces on social media and on in our brochures. So it is important that the images are credited. And we have one from Wayne. If you get stuck with filling the form out due to bad internet or technically not savvy, can we get help, please? Yes, of course you can. So please do just drop us an email. We will be on email all week and we can just pick up the phone to you as well. So yes, and we have Robin back again. Oh,
Can't hear you.
I'll answer another question whilst we're here. Is it possible to send a video of a piece if one's camera is not good enough if you do not have a smartphone? Unfortunately, we won't be accepting videos just because of the file size plus how judging will be conducted this year. But rest assured, even if your photography is slightly grainy, if you've written something in your placeholders as to the quality of your piece, and you've captured as many angles as you can, the judges will request to see the piece in person, and as such we will write to you to request you to post in or to drop it off at the centre. So unfortunately no videos this year, but the judges will request if they are unable to see the piece clearly in the photos.
And Harriet's question, I think, would be great for Robin once we get him on again. So I guess we can wait for that one.
Shall we do mic check, Robin?
Yeah.
Am I back on?
You are, yay!
Good.
Well, we have some questions, but we can do them a bit later. We can still try to talk to you a bit, Robin, about where we dropped off. So you did say, I hope people heard that, but you did get a Cartier Award during your career, and you're still working, like you said as well. You're still making, but mostly.
Yeah, I'm still making. So I'm still consultant and still doing judging and involved with world skills. So it's a never-ending change. So I've been highly lucky in getting where I've been and some of the things I've done. I was invited to join the council in 2002, and I'm voted in, obviously at different times. I'm still here, so I must be doing some good, hopefully. So it never changes. It's great that I've got the ability to be working in different areas, particularly in the practical area, and seeing work from experienced people and from people trying things for the very first time, and that gives the judges an enormous pleasure to see young people coming in at the beginning of their career. That's really engaging for judges. So I'm really pleased that I'm able to be part of that judging panel. The judging panels are. Do you want me to go on about some panels?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Some of those panels are made up of a minimum of 3 judges. Sometimes they're even bigger than that. But each of those panels, you have a trustee or a council member within that group. It's very important to have, if you have 2 people judging and you don't come to a decision at the end, it's very, very hit and miss. You have a 3rd person and that cements the decision for the right reasons. Someone who's experienced judging, it's really good for someone coming in who's new. And it's very good to get people coming in for the first time, especially as specialisms come and move into the area. You can't know everything, and it's very important to bring in people who have got experience like that to come in. But then you never know with that person coming in is whether they're very good at judging. Judgment on something is something you learn how to do, and it can take many years to get that right. But when you have somebody who's there with experience, they can see how that reacts and how that works within the group. And so you take them into the group and they learn as well. So it's a learning process for both young judges as well, which is fantastic because you need new people in all the time.
Yeah, and that's why we have panels of, all panels consist of a council member who knows the criteria. So everything is judged same in all the categories, isn't it? And then you get new people in, but they will be taught how the criteria work, and if they're not accustomed to how we judge, we'll explain it to them in terms of it's judged by skill and what you see on the table, etc.
Yes, there's a criteria for it all, and for how many medals you give, or a suggestion of how many medals you should give. There have been exceptional years where, we've been able to not give enough. There's been some amazing work you want to give a medal to everybody. And there is a level or a standard you expect. And then other years you see that the work is not quite at that level, and therefore you can't give out an award. It's not a case of it's there, someone will win something. It's actually whether you've attained that qualification. Yeah. And the difference between some of these levels is the 3 major things that you do as a jeweler or a maker. You saw something, you sold something, and then you file or finish it. And they're the 3 things that generally someone fails by, and it's only by perhaps a saw cut, or it's a solder, or it's an edge of soldering which is slightly pinholed, or it's been overfilled and someone's not cleaned it off. And it's those little details that people need to look at, because that makes a difference between someone saying, actually that's a bronze, and that person will come back in 2 years' time and probably be edging into silver. And it's those tiny little details that are very, very important. And at the other end, if you're at the end where you're aiming for someone with a senior award in the craft section, you get probably 2 or 3 pieces which are really, really, really good. So good that you're almost looking for the mistake rather than the excellence. It's balmy. You're so good, you're looking at what person's made one silly mistake against somebody else. It's perverse. And that shows you the quality of the work at certain levels. And of course, the judges are in hopes of fantastic to see that sort of ability by 2 or 3 people. And I'm happy to say that sort of level of quality is coming up again and again. There were some years, I think when I first came in at 2002, there was, for me, not enough engagement by trade people. And that is changing. It's changing. And established makers being able to show their work. The problem is, of course, if you're making something, you've got a buyer and it's being sold and it may go abroad, and therefore you can't put it in. We all understand that. And sometimes you have wonderful pieces and you can't put it in. But when you do get a chance, that's the thing, to try and just put it in. And recognition of your name when you're younger, people remember. I can assure you, judges remember people for many, many years. And that's the start of your career and reputation.
And I think also we have had people in the past whose pieces have been with clients, and then they've asked them nicely if they can enter the piece into the awards. And a lot of clients, obviously I understand if it's abroad, but a lot of clients in the UK, they're happy for pieces to be entered into the competition to potentially win an award. So if someone's in that position here, then definitely reach out to your client, I would say.
Yeah, because some clients even like to buy something off you, and they say, can it go into the competition?
Yeah.
And you can't say to them, well, it will win an award, but it puts the pressure on you to come up to that standard. But I can assure you, I've seen some very simple pieces made at the junior level, and they've been highlighted as being superbly made because they were so well made, even though they were quite simple. There was nothing wrong with them, absolutely perfect. And if there's a piece which has got some symmetry in it, it's really difficult to be simple and have symmetry there without a fault. That is, there's nowhere to hide. And judges recognize that because they'll see that took a lot of time to get that perfect. That curve and that line is uninterrupted. But once again, if you're starting, you must look for that detail, that odd file mark you've left on the inside edge. It's got to come off. Those little things like that. If you remove those, it sends it up into another area. And there's some things that have come through which have just lost sort of recognition because they haven't got to that level yet. So watch out for that.
That's some good Cartier Award winner tips there, isn't it?
Yeah, you got to give some of that. I was told by one of the pieces I put in one year, which I'm afraid you only got commended, Robin. We went that underneath that piece. We found we took a torch underneath it, and we found that some of the back of those wheels were only papered. I said, "Oh right, okay." So they were, you can't hide anything from anybody. They all know the tricks.
It shows that the judges are looking out, and both on top of your piece and underneath your piece. So just make sure that you do that final finishing.
Yeah, we got a piece, you're looking at it, you'll always turn it over.
Yeah.
And the other little tip really is to think about if it is, for an example, if you had a brooch and you bought a joint pin and catch, okay, we all do it. But actually, if you've got a design and you put it into two areas, the 2D and 3D, the way you've actually put that joint pin and catch on the brooch, actually there should be some reflection of the design going on throughout the piece. And there's some marvelous ways you can change things on pins to give it a feel of the design element. There's a theme going through. And that sort of thing that a judge will look at and go, they've taken it right through the whole process, right through the back of it, even to actually, so it attaches to you. And sometimes making it so it fits, so it actually goes into the clothing better. That's a real, it's making that last detail very important. Yeah. Judges notice that.
So because thinking about every little aspect of your design.
It's design going on, and design is into 3D without a doubt, because someone can actually make something bog standard, or they can enter the last little bit of, I should do a bit more. And most craftsmen tend to do a bit more than they need to anyway, and add and embellish something. And that little bit extra is what judges look for.
Yeah, I guess in terms of, we've covered more in the craft section is very important that you think about how well your piece is made, because that is what the judges are looking for. And then also we have the design sections where obviously the making skill is taken into account, but it's more focused on how well your design is. So especially the good tip about brooch pins and stuff like that, thinking about, is that also a part of the design and stuff like that will get you far. Maybe we shall go to some questions, I think. If anybody has questions specifically to Robin about judging, about maybe what judges are looking for more specifically in different sections and stuff, please put in our Q&A and we will do them at the end. We have some, we're going to go through some of the questions that you guys sent in advance first, and then we will take other questions. So
thank you, Robin. And I also think it's important to note as well that all judging is done anonymously. So the judges, of course, don't know whose work is whose. And of course, Alma and I know, but we're not judges. So you can feel free to talk to me and Alma if you have concerns about your entry, and our lips are sealed. So moving on to the questions. So first one, Alma, choosing a category, what would be the best place to submit work for a novice jeweler who has not established a brand or business yet?
Yeah, so in terms of the competition, it doesn't matter if you are established brand or a business. You could be anywhere in your career and enter the competition. In terms of, obviously in the craft sections, as you heard from Robin, they will be very, very thorough in terms of judging your work. So, but we do have the design categories as well. And so if you're a jeweler, we have the conceptual jewelry, we have the IGL Jewelry Awards, which is the precious jewelry silver and precious jewelry gold, platinum, palladium. So depending on what material you use, your jewelry can go in one of those. Or we also have the ready to wear, which used to be production jewelry. So if your pieces are more kind of production led, where you can produce more of one piece, then the ready to wear section is where you would go. Or conceptual jewelry is more larger scale, non-precious. So depending on kind of what jewelry you make, you can enter any of those, and obviously any of the 2D as well. But the briefs are very specific in each of them, so you can have a read on those as well if you are a designer. We have one question here, which we thought, Robin, you could maybe answer. It's not easy for me to get hallmarking at the moment. Is it possible to enter a non-hallmark piece?
The simple answer is yes. That's fine, because some pieces come in with a different material which isn't hallmarked. So yes, don't let that be an obstacle for you at all.
Yeah, you can even put on your entry form, this is silver, not yet hallmarked, for example, and that's fine. Benita, would I be able to enter more than one piece in a category, or should I group several pieces in one entry?
So this is a great question. Again, it depends on which brief and which category you're entering it into. A lot of the design briefs, especially in 2D, are quite specific. Some say what pieces they want. Whereas if it is 3D and there is a nice design language, it's like a collection, and they complement each other, then of course, please do enter them as one entry or as a collection in one entry. I think we have seen quite a few collections come through, so it is a common type of entry to have multiple pieces in one. Okay, so, oops, computer says no. Design and presentation. Alma, what kind of designs are you looking for? Design of pieces at an abstract and conceptual level?
So it basically, just have a look at the briefs. They will ask different things. So some are more abstract and conceptual, and others are more specific. So yeah, I think that is a quick answer to that question. Mm-hmm. Can we design a piece that plays with the body, that is a piece that can be used anywhere on our body? Benita?
Yeah, I would say yes. I think well, again, please reread the brief and the criteria. If they're asking for a ring, it probably has to be on the finger, and earrings on the ears. So, but we have a conceptual jewelry, even like there are a few sections where it's craft led again, so it doesn't need to be on the hand. It can be, as long as you're very clear in your placeholder what it is and where it's supposed to be worn, so the judges can understand the concept behind it or the wearability of it, then that is quite important. But with the character design brief, which I suspect this question is for, again, because it's a character, please outline what character and where on the fictional body it would be worn so that we're aware. Okay, next question. How do you go about laying out the presentation effectively?
Yeah, I don't know if you have any comments on that, Robin. Obviously, you've been in a few of the 2D judging panels in the years.
Yeah.
Any tips on presenting your work I can't even say it, effectively?
Well, yes, I think, you know, there's always, if you've done anything like technical drawing or that sort of thing, there will be views that you ought to work to. So if you're going to do more than one view, then you ought to think about where you place it. It just helps when somebody is maybe as a judge who does come from that background, from manufacturing, they'll expect to see certain things in first angle or third angle projection. So you'd see something, and is it to the right of it, or is it to the left of it, or is it below it? It just helps sort that bit out. You're drawing it. It doesn't matter where you draw it. In fact, you know, if you're taking dimensional lines from something, it's quite easy to just take them across and place it whatever you're doing, whether you're doing in CAD or whether you're doing it by hand. So yeah, think about that, because it's not quite judgmental, but when you see something laid out well, it does complement. It does draw the person into it. It gives them a good feeling before they even start to scrutinize it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, great. I also think we do have, like we mentioned earlier, we have the checklists, and on the 2D one we have some tips and tricks on what you should and kind of think about in terms of what you should add to your presentations in terms of words, or like Robin said, maybe some different angles on how the piece is supposed to be viewed and looked at. And just, yeah, bear in mind that it's like presenting to a client. So like Robin said, if it's really nicely done, it will make the judges want to have an extra look at and say, wow, something's drawing me to this design. So yeah, think about that as well. Question for you, Benita. Is it necessary to provide dimensions, scale of the final piece on any other entry categories? If necessary, is it okay to just provide the annotated dimensions of the final piece on either page?
There are a few 2D design briefs that specifically say, please provide a 2-scale drawing or render. So please do read the brief criteria. It is helpful for judges if, especially on 2D pieces, if there is some indication of it's a scale, like if it's a massive neck piece or a small pendant. So please, whatever can direct or steer the judges towards how the piece is worn, what it would look like, would be very welcome. The 3D pieces this year, the difference is because the judges are seeing things on the screen. There may be some pieces where it's not clear how big or small it is, and it is important for the judges. So we're happy for you to put a reference piece in, like a pen or a ruler beside the piece, so that people can understand what scale they're looking at. If you feel it makes your piece look busy, we have placeholders in the entry form, so you can put in there, and we've noted like a few people have written in 24 millimeters or whatever it is inside the application form. So use the form wisely for spec as well. Does the piece have to be realistically makeable? Do I need to do a cost sheet?
No, so you don't have to do a cost sheet. There is some briefs in the 2D where, like for example, in the repurposed jewellery, where you have a specific budget because the client has £1,000. As long as you have a clear understanding of that you don't go overboard in terms of budget. You have 1,000, you can add a bit of material. If you add way too many diamonds or way too much gold for it, then it's unrealistic. But as long as you kind of have an idea in mind of how a rough estimate of the cost of making it and the extra material, and that's clear in your presentation, then that's fine. You don't need to break it down into a costing sheet. And then we have last on this page, 2D design uploads. I have prepared a research background design development page and then a presentation of the final rendered design with close-ups and further angles of mechanisms, etc. I need to know which submission pages, presentation/research the criteria refers to, i.e. image 1 and image 2.
So just a quick one on the previous question before we move on. For the conceptual jewellery, it does not have to be realistically makeable.
Oh, yes,
because I think that was the idea, it's meant to be for fictional characters. And for this question on design uploads, so it is absolutely fine if you have a research background, design development page, and then the presentation of the final rendered design. It doesn't matter if it's image 1 or image 2 on your uploads. The judges will look at both of your uploads. Again, everybody will present their designs differently, and I know on our 2D sheet we made a recommendation that if you only have 2 design boards, please use one for all the different spec and one to explain your research and background of design development. But of course, this is not set in stone. We do have placeholders on the entry form if you wish to put your text in there and use the 2 images just for renders and designs and spec. So yeah, no order of preference on which image you upload and for which design. Okay, materials and briefs. Robin, I'm going to ask you this one. Can we include materials other than metals in our designs?
If it says yes, so you can do. I mean, if you're thinking about something in base metal, then obviously you can use base metals, nickel or whatever. It doesn't have to be in precious metal. It's important that you actually say somewhere what the material is, so that the judges have got some idea about the difficulty factor in using other materials, or the design actually determines you to use that material. There's no problem there, but you need to let them know what it is. Certainly if you made something in brass and then was plated, that's really important to know, because brass is not an easy metal to use anyway. So if you constructed it in brass, you put another difficulty factor on yourself, and that's recognized by judges as well. A bit like silver, doing very, very fine work with silver. You're pushing, you're pushing your ability right to the end, and judges need to know that. So as long as you just say what it is, the material it is, it can be judged.
And also, I guess you can combine other materials with precious metals as well. For example, in a small working piece, I guess you can add like wood or
plastics, glass, yeah, all those
same
materials.
with jewelry.
Yeah. And the next question, production techniques. Alma, they may have been removed as a criteria, but have material selections been also removed? In short, can we use make-believe materials?
Yeah, so this is definitely in reference to the conceptual jewelry 2D design brief, section 4, where it's designed for character. So yes is the answer. You can do make-believe materials as well. And if you have seen, we've just released our last chit chat video with John Moore, who helped us write this brief, and we discussed a bit about materials, and he references mithril from Lord of the Rings, which obviously is a made up metal. So definitely you can think about that as well. But if you do, add that into description and really think about what it is that the qualities have and that is better for this character if you've made up the material. So yeah, absolutely. And this question here, my question is regarding material. How would we best describe it? For example, if the piece is for film, the material could be CGI rather than actual. Should we describe the look of the material rather than the actual material, or should it be more specific? Also, I'm thinking of entering 2 designs, but the characters are of the same story. I assume 2 entries is better than 1.
Again, this looks like the popular conceptual jewellery brief for character design. A tip for this one, CGI isn't a material. And if you were to give your design to a film producer, for example, they would still want to know, fictional or not, what material you've used. So if you're using some alien skin, say that it's alien skin, so they can then decide how they are going to render it in CGI. So describe the look for sure. And if you are doing this again for a fictional character and it's a fictional material, write a story behind it. Make some sense of what this material is and what this metal alloy it is. Because again, this brief is about stretching your imagination, but also looking at how you've applied it to materials as well. And you're thinking of entering 2 designs, but the characters are of the same story. If they complement each other, feel free to put it in the same entry, but if they look great as 2 standalone entries, again, you can do 2 entries as well. So however you think your entry would best read to the judges. Okay, so will mixed metal pieces be considered in the silver jewellery category if they are half made of silver but do not meet the brief for craft or fashion sections?
Yeah, so we've had this before as well in terms of mixed metals. So yeah, definitely that's fine. If it's mostly silver and you feel like it should be in the jewelry section, precious jewelry silver, then other materials can be there as well. But like Robin said, state it in your application form what materials you've used so it's clear for the judges. And then I think you need to move it up a bit. Yeah. If I present a piece in titanium and gold or silver, should it be in the conceptual or in the precious category? Thank you.
Again, it depends on what your piece is. We usually, when we have entries, if we think that they are, myself and Alma will look at the entries. If we think that you may have entered it in to the wrong category, we can give you a call and suggest to move your entry into a more suitable category. So we will do a sense check when we receive the applications. Robin, did you have anything to add on this one?
Well, yes, if something came into a section that we're in and it's happened before, that actually we are judging the wrong area, we would then redirect it into an area where it's more suitable as well. So the judges will do it at that level as well. So don't be worried too much. As long as the information is there, it will be sorted for you.
Definitely. We're working for you as entrants. So just do it to the best of your ability. And we're here to help you, not like punish you for putting it into the wrong category. So read the briefs and think, okay, I think it should be in this one. Put it in there, add all the information needed in the form. And if the judges or Benita and I think that it's in the wrong section, we will call you. And then the judges would also, like Robin said, they can move it to the right section if they feel like it's in the wrong one.
I think that's the last of our questions from the webinar. So we'll just move on to the Q&A question. We have 6 in now.
Yeah.
So this is a great one for Robin, actually. What is the largest size that small work can be?
I've seen a very large palace, about 4 foot by 3 foot, come in.
Oh.
So you know, that's
small.
It's not really a problem. It depends on what the materials and what you've done with them that calls it a small work, really. And parts of that, usually with small work, there are a lot of pieces that connect together that require either devices, hinges, sections that move, that call it small work. It can either be then in a silversmithing workshop, made certain parts, and then other parts are then added to it by a small worker. So it may be a piece that's combined by two makers. Often you don't get the same small worker doing the whole thing in a circumstance. You may have to bring in somebody else to combine that experience. So that's
Yes,
not
so
a problem.
it's not about a silver piece being small, which defines it as small. It's about the mechanisms and techniques used, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So because and then in the reverse, in silversmithing, a piece can be really small, but the techniques, as long as it's silversmithing techniques, it's classified as a silversmithing piece rather than a small working piece. Is that right?
Yeah.
Robin?
Yeah. But it's, I mean, a technique's a technique. I mean, silversmithing techniques being used as a jeweler, you know, just in a smaller scale. You've learned them from somebody, or you've learned how to do it yourself. If it's in the wrong category, it will be moved into it, or it can be appraised in another category as well. If we feel that part of it should have been appraised by somebody else, we'll bring in somebody else to look at that as well.
Yeah, great. I think that answers that very well. Someone here, can I submit a piece that I've already published through social media as a completed commission? Yeah, that's not a problem. As long as it's made in the last year, you're eligible to enter.
In the UK.
In the UK, yeah, it has to be made
in the UK.
Yeah.
Can you submit a physically made piece in a 3D category and the design work for it, i.e. CAD, in an appropriate 2D design section as well? The answer is yes, as long as you've answered the brief for the 2D, because they are quite specific as to what criteria they have or what they require and who the client is. So as long as it meets the criteria in both categories.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and you just have to submit 2 different application forms as well.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 more. Is it possible to submit multiple entries in one category, say 2 completely different pieces that do not belong in the same collection?
Yes, that's fine.
I think that's right.
Yeah, just like Benita was mentioning earlier about collections maybe being submitted as 1 entry. If they're completely different, do 2 different entry forms for them, is all we would say.
If you have made a piece that is completely unique, for example, technique or technology that nobody has seen before, can this piece go through the net that they mistake it for another technique? So can it slip the net and somebody misunderstands it? How can it be judged if there is not a judge that knows about it?
Robin,
yeah, well, that does come along. That has been one of the occasions of you need to know what the material is. You need to know how it's constructed and what some of those materials are. Because yes, you're right. Someone may not think it's made that way, or the material's not the material they think it is. So the more information they've got, the more other people can be brought into our conversation, the judge's conversation, to get it in the right appraisal. Because it needs to be absolutely no problem. It should be there about somebody not being recognised for what the quality of the work has been done. And it's an ongoing thing. And you keep looking out for it now. And certainly with things like CAD that come up who are not mentioned, and some people are saying things are CAD'd up. And in fact, when you find out from the person, it's not. It changes the ballgame completely. And the same with materials and a lot of things that, well, there are a lot of materials that are being used now that a lot of people haven't got that technique themselves. And it's very much a specialist area.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why we have those placeholders on the application form. So try to use those as tools, because like Robin said, you can't be in the judging and explaining to the judges how you've done something. So use those as if you were in the room trying to explain to the judges how you made something or what materials you used, or that everything is handmade, nothing is CAD'd. etc. So yeah, put that into those forms.
Yeah,
on
we did have a piece, I think it was 2 years ago, that we had to verify something which was made by hand. It was crucial, and the person sent in sections because they took photographs making it. They sent those in, and then the judges could review them and could see parts that were made by hand, and that was really, really useful. So if there's some part of construction or something you do that you take in photographs of it and it needs to be verified later on, and you can send those in, well, that's great. That completely exonerates that area, saying, well, it's handmade or it's not.
Yeah, that's good. Katarina here, I believe this question has already been asked, but for the jewelry for character competition, does the piece have to be wearable? I
think this is the only catch. I guess this is a philosophical debate on what is jewelry.
Wearability.
Yeah. But with character design, I think see what the brief says. If it could, I think wearable is important, but if your character is some like homogeneous blob, then I'm not sure how it would be wearable. But as long as you've explained how it is wearable, then that's all the judges are looking for.
I mean, it's called conceptual jewelry, so, and jewelry is supposed to be worn, but because it's for a character that might not exist, it could be wearable only for that character. Right. And if it was put on a body, in a human body, it wouldn't be wearable. But that's fine. But yeah, but think about it as a decorative object for your character.
Yeah, character's body.
Yeah,
yeah, not body.
I think this was covered quite a few years ago at Central School of Art, and they had a seminar which was called Jewellery Redefined, and lots of examples were there where eventually came out that wearable art. Okay. You can wear something that is not really a piece of jewellery, but it's a piece of art that you wear.
Yeah.
And so there's no areas of that you can't do that. Just that you've got to explain it, and you certainly need to show it on the person where you wear it.
Yeah. So here some people call it body adornment. So the word wearable is then again one of those things. So how do you adorn the body? Can you submit one piece in multiple categories?
Yeah. So as it stands, so you can only submit one. If you're entering into the 2D, your entry can only go into 1 to 10, so only one of them, and also they are very specific. So if you design something for conceptual jewelry, for example, that we talked a lot about today, it wouldn't fit in the repurposed jewelry section, for example. And then in the 3D, you can enter your actual physical piece into one of the design sections, 11 to 17. And then, like we said, just do it in your best of your ability. So basically, try to put it into the one you think it should be in. If we think it should be in one of the other ones, we can change it on our end. And then you can enter it as many craft sections as it qualifies. So if it's polished, if it's stone setting, if it has engraving, if it has enameling, you can put it in any of the craft sections. And then we also have design and craft sections. At the end, they can also be, you can put it into all that apply. So if it's wire, innovations, so use of wire, you can put in wire, laser, put in laser. Yeah, I think that answers that one. We have one here. Is it okay to submit photographs with the pieces worn to determine scale for big pieces mainly?
Yes, you have, yeah. So we have 4 upload spaces for the 3D design entries and craft entries. So please do use them wisely. So if it is a special way of wearing it, that would be very helpful for the judges to know. Robin, do you have any?
Yeah, especially if something moves, that's really important. Rather than someone else trying to move something where you don't know where it goes or where it does move, no one wants something broken unintentionally, if there's different positions you can show it working in, that gives us a good clue to where things are changeable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clever.
Someone has asked about our awards evening. So the question here is, will the prize giving winning entries be given out by virtual Zoom like Goldsmiths Fair 2020 due to COVID? We've kept kind of the awards evening under wraps still. I think we're going to keep it under wraps a little bit longer. So yeah, we'll keep it a secret for now.
Drum roll continues.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have the possibility to create any kind of invented materials for my designs? I think this is a repeat of the question before. So yes, depending on which category, again, this is only really relevant for the conceptual jewellery design brief number 4, which is designing for characters. If this is another question, if you have invented like an alloy or something, then please do write that down in materials and processes or techniques on your entry form. So yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be a commonly used metal. Yeah.
And if you have invented your own material, put it into the Technological Innovation Award, section 18, for sure. Yeah.
The diversity and inclusion brief. This is the last question. The brief is a bit vague to me. What are you looking for in this category? Okay, so this is we can run through the brief itself, but I think if you could email us like more specifically, because it is a conceptual design brief, so it's difficult to steer you as to exactly what to create. But yes,
and also it's open for interpretation, so that we wouldn't want people to
lead people.
To lead people too much. But yeah, if this person here has more specific kind of questions for us, please email us and we can answer as well. I was smiling because of the last comment here about getting a suit cleaned for the awards evening. I think either way you can
please wear a suit either way.
Yeah, wear a suit anyway. It's a good reason to, isn't it?
Yeah.
We haven't been able to wear suits very often this year, so.
Okay, I think.
I wore a suit for the first time for the first freedom ceremony a week ago.
That was done online, yeah.
Yeah, first time ever, and that was it was interesting to put a shirt and tie on and a suit. Yeah, but it made the occasion actually.
Yeah, exactly.
It really did.
Nice.
How did that go, Robin?
Yeah.
It was really good because everything was filmed. The people who received the freedom talked about their work, and the wardens asked questions to them as well, and they were very articulate about what they made, which is really good. It's the first time it's ever been done, and that information has never been recorded in history. So it's a start of something, that's an add to the archive for the future, which is amazing, because you can go back in history and then talk to the actual person, the master who made that piece. You can hear them talking about it 100 years from now. That's fantastic. That's brilliant. So you've got the actual thing and they're talking as well. Yeah. So, you put a flavour to the person in that piece. So it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, it's added something.
Yeah, although, being in person is really important. Those people who have received the freedom this year will come back at some point later in the year and do that whole thing for real.
Oh, nice.
So that's good.
Yeah. It's a shame to miss out on the Goldsmiths Hall and the whole ceremony. So that's good. I think that's us today. Thank you very much, Robin.
Thank you, Robin, and thanks everybody for joining us today. This is our last Q&A before the deadline on the 28th. if you have any other questions, please do email us or check out our frequently asked questions page on the GC&DC website. The answer might be there already. And yeah, also we've had our other 2 Q&As, and the questions and answers from that is on our website under the frequently asked questions page as well. So have a look there. If not, as we said, we are on email and we're here to help you. So yeah, good luck, and we can't wait to see your entries.
Yeah, 2 more weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Alma and I will stick around for 2 more minutes if you have any more questions. And the person who asked the NAJ brief question, please do drop us an email and we'll be happy to jump on a call with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Robin.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.